Hello everybody, welcome back to another video with Lim Reviews. Now today we got a very interesting smartphone from Vivo. This is the vivo Y33T, and this is actually Vivo's under 1,000 ringgit smartphone here in Malaysia. So it's sort of a budget smartphone, but it does come with a couple of interesting features. So let us begin right away. Now of course, if you could just drop a like and sub to the channel, that would be super much appreciated. Thank you all for your kind support. Let us begin right now. Alright, so like I mentioned earlier on, the vivo Y33T here is retailing in Malaysia for RM999, and for that you do get a decent specification. You have 8GB of RAM and 128GB of internal memory. Now apart from that, you do get a couple of items in the box as well. This is a first time I've seen in quite some time now that it actually comes with a pair of earphones. So we do have wired earphones, we do have the Type-C cable, and of course we also have the 18-watt charger. All these accessories come as standard in the box. Alright, so now that we're done with the accessories and all that, let's check out the device itself. And my version here is actually the one in gold. Now it does come with a couple more other colors. There is a black, there is a sort of like bluish kind of a back panel, and mine here is the one in gold that is actually quite interesting. Now we do have these very nice matte back materials that is actually quite nice to touch. It does not capture any fingerprints, so that is great. But if you look closer, you will be able to see a very nice sort of pattern at the back here. It kind of looks like a couple of raindrops just dropping down on the back panel, and I think it's a very nice touch there, very nice small detail that some people out there might actually appreciate. So definitely giving a thumbs up to Vivo for that attention to detail. Now apart from that, on the top left corner you do have your camera cutout. It is the square shape sort of camera cutout where it houses the triple camera, which I will talk a little bit more later on. And next up, you notice that we also have this frame that is sort of flat on the sides. It's quite hard to balance on the table, but just take my word for it. It's a flat side kind of frame here. And on your right, you do have your volume rocker. You have your fingerprint scanner, a physical fingerprint scanner, good for these times where we are always wearing masks. At the top, you do have your SIM card tray. Now, bear in mind that this SIM card tray actually supports 2 SIM cards and a dedicated micro SD card slot. So if you are not happy with the amount of memory, you can always just put in a micro SD card and you can expand the storage further. Now at the bottom here, you of course have your Type-C port, you have your single firing speaker, and of course you do have the headphone jack to which you can actually use the earphones that came in the box. Pretty nice. Alright, so now that we are done with the design, let's talk a little bit about the display at the front, because this is a very interesting display. Now we do get a 6.58-inch 1080p LCD panel that actually refreshes at 90 Hz. So it is somewhat smooth. It's not as smooth as a 120 of course, but it's good enough to actually give you a very nice seamless kind of experience on the display. Now the good news about this display is I have been using it outdoors as well, and the brightness levels are actually sufficient. You will be able to see the display very decently under very strong sunlight, so not to worry about that there. In terms of the colors, it is also quite punchy. We have a very saturated display at the front here, so although it is an LCD display, which normally people would think it's very flushed out and not contrasty and not saturated at all, this one here is a little bit different. It is quite nice. Colors are actually quite decent there. Now one final thing that I do have to point out here is that because it is 1080p stretched across a slightly small 6.58-inch surface, so the pixel density is actually 401, and you know that when you hit above 400 in terms of pixel density, everything will look very sharp and crystal clear on the display. So again, for under 1,000 ringgit, I would say that this display is a pass. Now moving on, let's talk a little bit about the cameras at the back. We do have a 50 megapixel main sensor, a 2 megapixel macro, and another 2 megapixel depth sensor for those bokeh shots. So right away, you know that we're missing an ultra wide here, but let's talk about the main sensor and how it performs. Now I took a couple of shots outside in the broad daylight, and good news here guys, the pictures actually turned out quite nice. I'm going to show you the pictures right now. Note that all these photos are not edited, and with very good sunlight, you can see that the vivo Y33T is able to capture a lot of detail. The colors look very natural as well. It's not super saturated to the point where it looks completely fake. I love the fact that you can have these very nice kind of details on a budget phone, so that's definitely good on Vivo's side. Now in terms of night mode, this is where the device starts to struggle a little bit. You will notice a fair bit of noise in the images, but again, at this kind of price point, this is sort of to be expected with night mode cameras, which really pushes the capabilities of the device itself. But overall, if you're taking a lot of daytime shots, it will work really well. Now, in terms of the selfie camera at the front, obviously I took a couple of selfies. I don't really do selfies, but I noticed that it was also quite alright in terms of the edge detection. I tried out the portrait selfie mode and it was able to blur out the background without messing with my hair. So that's definitely great as well. Right, so that's just in terms of the cameras. Now we're going to talk a bit about the processing power. Now this device is powered by a Snapdragon 680 4G. There is no 5G on board. And like I mentioned earlier on, it comes with 8GB of RAM, which you can extend to 12GB. It does 8 plus 4. And in terms of the memory, like I mentioned earlier on as well, it comes with 128 and it supports that micro SD expansion. Now I was able to play a couple of games here. Naturally, you know that this device is not really fully designed for gamers, but it is actually able to support ultra mode on the Mobile Legends game. So I'm quite surprised there. I was able to pull in a very decent gameplay with the vivo Y33T. Obviously, it's not like the smoothest or the fastest, but at this price point, being able to play ultra on Mobile Legends is definitely a good thing here. So again, if you are going to play a couple of basic games, not too graphic intensive, you can rely on the vivo Y33T here to actually, support that. So that's just that. In terms of day-to-day use, just browsing the social media, your internet, launching apps, the speed was actually quite acceptable. As the Snapdragon 680 did a fine job at, retaining the smoothness in the UI itself. I think it's also really down to the optimizations that is done quite well on the vivo Y33T. So again, if you are just using this device for day-to-day basic kind of use, a bit of light gaming, you will not have too much issues with the Snapdragon 680. Now, last but not least, let's talk a little bit about the battery in the back. Now, we do have a 5000 mAh battery that is actually very strong. It is definitely able to pull in one full day on a single charge. No issues with that. And of course, it also comes with 18-watt fast charge. Now, I did not time the speeds of this, but it took slightly more than 1 hour to get from 0 to 100% using the charger that came in a box. So that's also, I think, is quite alright considering the price point. But yeah, this is basically what you can expect with the vivo Y33T. Again, for under 1000 ringgit, this is Vivo's current best offering for you. If you are looking for something from this brand, this is exactly what you can expect with the vivo Y33T. Overall, quite alright, I would say. Definitely quite impressed with the daylight shots coming from the camera. But yeah, that's pretty much what I have to share with you guys today in this review. Alright, if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. Don't forget to drop a like and sub to the channel. And of course, I hope to see all of you guys again in the next one. Stay safe, everybody. Bye!